blood clot, so that absence of evidence fragments on the post-surgical x-ray is not evidence of absence prior to that. Now, the other thing you have to understand is that with the silver tip bullet, the jacket is made out of aluminum. Aluminum is very radiolucent. It's very hard to detect on x-rays. It's not like steel, it's not like lead, it's not as dense. So that fragments of this type would be inapparent on clinical x-rays. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit later on. Now, the other thing is that the x-ray never influenced the autopsy report. We take x-rays for our convenience to help focus our efforts. The autopsy validates the x-ray. The x-ray does not validate the autopsy. Once the autopsy is complete, that is the gold standard by which all medical findings will be measured. It is not our practice, even to this date, to record that we take an x-ray, because it is there for our purpose, and once we've completed the autopsy, it is the autopsy that's important, not the x-ray. Now, this is the x-ray of Lieutenant Oliver. Can you tighten that focus just a tad? It may not show up well here. And you can see that this is about the location where the 7th rib is here. The bullet would go in this direction across the heart and exit in this area. You'll have to take my assurances on this, but given the type of projection, but there is no metallic fragment visible in this x-ray. Now, whether that's a post-surgical phenomenon where metal fragments were there removed, or whether there truly are no metallic fragments, I tend to believe that there truly are no metallic fragments. So again, we're looking at something like full metal jacket performance out of a silver tip bullet. Something unexpected to some people, but something which does occur. And this is a close-up of it again. No metallic fragments are seen. But I should qualify that and say no radiodense metallic fragments, because again, aluminum may not be visible on x-ray. As part of my educational process with the military, I've picked up a lot of shrapnel over the years, and in teaching, I always show this slide where you've got shrapnel from various fragmenting ordnances, artillery rounds, mortar rounds, hand grenades, some of which are steel, some of which are aluminum. Now, these are pretty good-sized chunks of aluminum. And yet when you x-ray the body, they really don't show up very well at all. What happened to all these? Well, there's about the thickest chunk right there. The steel shows up fine, except for the hand grenade, it's pretty thin. But aluminum doesn't show up very well. How does that apply to the silver tip bullet? Well, I took a silver tip bullet and I cut it in half. And I pried the jacket off of one side and kept the core with the jacket on the other. And I glued those to the bottom of a container, side by side.
We could make those the next
Exhibit C.
And this is a photograph of an x-ray made with the bullet and the jacket side by side in air. Now, the human body is not made up of air. It's made up of tissue. Tissue is seen by x-rays as having somewhat of a water-type density. So there's air densities, there's water density, and there's metal densities. But the contrast between densities is going to be the greatest whenever you've got the lead in contrast to the air. But you can see here, and again, I apologize for the lighting, there is a very definite outline of the pure aluminum jacket. Now, if you add 10 centimeters of water, 4 inches of water, which is consistent with the thickness of the human body and approximate density, what you get by shooting the x-rays through that is you show the bullet, but you can't see the jacket material at all. So that's another reason why the x-ray is not of great importance. Now, there's another premise that Mr. Workman's gun was loaded with all silver tip ammunition. It has been my experience in looking at guns recovered from crimes and crime scenes, as well as the experience of other people. I don't take my word for it. Check with any law enforcement agency that you can. Talk to either Dan Royce or Tommy Heflin or Steve Scott at the TBI ballistics lab, and ask them if it's not true that most pistols that come in have a mixture of brands of ammunition. Now, Mr. Workman admitted to his trial lawyer that he fired 4 or 5 shots during the murder of Lieutenant